Hello, baseball fans. I'm Ken O'Neill, and this is the Collegiate Summer Baseball Network. Today we're speaking with Gary Hoover, the director of the Northwoods League, the largest organized baseball summer league with 22 teams and more than 200 players who advance to Major League Baseball. Notable Northwoods alums include three-time Cy Young Award winner Scherzer of the Washington Nationals and World Series champion Ben Zobrist of the Chicago Cubs, Derek Fisher of the Houston Astros, and Chris Sale of the Boston Red Sox, just to name a few. So welcome to the program, Gary, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Ken. And I have to say that's a pretty good assortment of names. Not to put too fine a point on it, but I think we're at 231 right now.
That's unbelievable, 231. Now, with the season coming up, starting, I believe, in June, what are you doing now as the commissioner to prepare for the upcoming season?
We just finished our annual winter meeting. The Northwoods League hosts essentially 3 meetings each year. We do a postseason meeting in the fall. We do our annual winter meeting in January, and then, of course, a preseason meeting. So a lot of what we've been doing is preparing for and then executing on the meeting, trying to give as much information as we can to all the attendees from each of the 22 teams. And then, of course, it seems to be the busiest time of year, frankly. I look very much forward to the baseball season where I can just sort of take in games.
So now, for the 22 teams, that's a very, very large league compared to some other leagues. How they say the attendance is over 1 million fans during last year for the 22 teams.
1.26 million,
which is an amazing amount. The Northwoods League draws over 1 million fans a year, and how do you get that many people to come? What kind of promotions do you use during the year?
Truthfully, this is largely in the control and hands of our great affiliate operators. They create their own promotions. They're very innovative in a lot of ways. Obviously, there's between innings entertainment. There are specific thematic nights, a host of things that I think have really contributed to, in addition to what I hope is a really great product and a symptom of the great communities, frankly, where our teams operate. It's a sort of great symbiosis between community, operators, players, and league that makes us what we are.
Now, what are the changes that are happening this year for the league, and any rule changes that we can expect?
Yeah, there have been a couple rule changes. We implemented the shortened game, and you could call it pace of play, but we're 10 innings, and we follow the minor league rule. We did that last year. I'm trying to think, we just did go through a bunch of rule changes, but most are technical and won't be self-evident on the playing field. But I would say more than anything, we sort of parallel what's going on in minor league baseball in terms of how we keep abreast of the rules.
Now, in this year coming up, in the major leagues, pitchers go 5 innings. Pitchers have a certain amount of pitch counts. How do your league handle the pitching problem? I wouldn't call it a problem, but pitching, how many innings, and how does that work?
It's a great question. Happy to answer it because we take it very seriously. I think it's really an important component of the Northwoods League's ability to recruit from these colleges players without concern that they would in some way be overused in our league. So we implement a pitch count and we enthusiastically enforce it. And we don't face any resistance, quite frankly. We use a combination of technology. As you probably know, Ken, all of our games are broadcast over a 4 HD camera system in each of our ballparks. That enables us to watch what's going on from the league's perspective. We also obviously involve the coaches and the scorers and the PA announcers. Certain limits are announced. No one, we want to make sure that everyone's aware of exactly where a specific pitcher is in terms of the pitch count. And once the pitch counts are met, then those pitchers are replaced in the course of a given game. But it's something we do take very seriously and something we're happy to, I think, sort of lead the charge on in terms of collegiate leagues.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're speaking with Gary Hoover, the commissioner of the Northwoods League. Now, Gary, you know that Major League Baseball and the Minor League Baseball are doing their reorganization for next year, and they're going to be getting rid of about 40 minor league teams, and then they're going to have a draft of 20 instead of 40. How will that affect your league? Especially, they're going to be around 600 more players after next year.
Yeah, I figured you might ask about this, Ken, and I'm frankly glad you did. I find it personally quite a fascinating topic and tried to stay abreast of it. My understanding right now is that, negotiations are still ongoing. So I think it's somewhat hypothetical. We'd have to assume what may or may not transpire with respect to the contraction and how that plays out. I note there has been ebbs and flows in the public nature of the way the discussion has transpired between Major League Baseball and Minor League Baseball. So I, like everyone else, am just watching the public stream of information. Specific to your question, though, I do think that all of us in baseball collectively are going to feel the ripple effects. This is a big deal. And in terms of the way the draft may change or how it would affect players, in terms of the way that certain communities may no longer have an affiliated ball club, doesn't necessarily mean they won't have baseball opportunities. I think it's going to be a really interesting next period of time.
Now, are there any stadiums that are close to you that you might be able to be using if the minor leagues are not using them?
Well, obviously there are stadiums that have been mentioned as part of the contraction program that are either just inside or on the fringes of our footprint. I think a couple of the stadiums that have been named have been some in Iowa. Obviously, we have an affiliate in Iowa currently in Waterloo, and to the degree that some Class A teams have been kept on a list that are in Iowa, we're obviously real curious to see what's going to transpire there.
Now, in the majors, of course, the Houston Astros manager and GM were fired. The Red Sox manager were fired for the cheating scandal. What is your opinion about that? Does that affect you? Will you be talking to any of the teams about this type of thing?
Another great question. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it because I think this one is particularly important. Interesting that both the cheating and its resulting reprimand/firings occurred in around the same time as the contraction context. I'm not suggesting they're linked in any way, but interesting that they're unfolding almost simultaneously. In my opinion, you ask my opinion, I'll give it to you, Ken. Cheating's cheating and should not be allowed. I've been personally very fascinated in the way specific writers and various organizations have taken positions with respect not exactly to the cheating, if you will, the methodology using technology to steal pitcher signs, but more along the lines of the reaction of MLB in the form of the fine and the suspensions and then obviously the resulting firings. I think it's really interesting to see that there is such a divided opinion. Personally, I don't think there ought to be. I think we all ought to say cheating's not allowed, period. And we can talk about what the appropriate remedies are. Frankly, we have, just so you know, Ken, we're very cognizant of how important rules and rule enforcement is to the quality of the product on the field. You've obviously, been a fan and been an attendee at a lot of baseball games. You can feel in a ballpark when the rules are being loosely enforced. It gives the game a different feel than when there's a structure in place. We take seriously to maintain that structure. The league uses the services of a former NFL line judge and of some repute, who also brings to bear a lot of baseball experience to help train the umpires that come to work at the Northwoods League, in conjunction with the Northwoods League and the Northwoods League umpires. They are instructed carefully with respect to the knowledge of and enforcement of the rules. And we think that that really helps our product. And we're going to continue to do that. So the rules are there, they're clearly communicated, and they're enforced.
The difference between this coming year and last year, is there any teams right now that have an advantage over another team? You think this might be the team this year?
No, not particularly. I wish, if I had a crystal ball, the teams are the same. So, in terms of team names and team markets, there are no changes for the coming season there. With respect to the way the teams get put together and recruited, there are constants in some markets where the long-term coaches have been there, understand, and bring to the party their various skill sets. There are newer affiliates. I take a time out. Now this is particularly interesting to me, and I think Ken, in our last conversation, we talked a little bit about the new admission to the Northwoods League in the form of the Traverse City Pittsbitters. Now the Pittsbitters, their first year in the league, won it. And they won it in very convincing style. They set a league record for wins. And so the takeaway from that is that you never know. I know the Pittsbitters organization, as well as I know all of our organizations, and I know from my communications with them, they want to keep that trend going. They've set their own bar pretty darn high, given last year's performance. Same coach. We'll see what they do in terms of players, and we'll see this year how that pans out.
Now, are there any thoughts of expansion, even though you have 22 teams, especially with the minor leagues having more players going to be available to you?
Ken, truthfully, we've always had thoughts of expansion. The Northwoods League has evolved. We're very grateful for the success. I would say I'm sort of calling it intelligent expansion at this point. Very fortunately, we have grown to the extent we have. We have established the league to the extent that it has been established. I think that helps in terms of how we approach expansion, what the reception is if we expand into new markets, the attraction for ownership to others who might want to become part of the Northwoods League. Feel pretty good about all of those things. So now we just need to be smart and do it in a way that continues that growth curve.
Well, thank you, Gary. We appreciate you being on the show today, and we wish you well for the upcoming league, and we will be talking with you down the line.
I really appreciate this, guys, and happy to participate, and good luck to you. And Ken, come to one of our games. I'd love to see you.
I would love to. All right.
Well, let me know.
All right. That's our show for today, folks. I want to thank our guest, Gary Hoover of the Northwoods League. This has been the Commissioner's Corner on CSBN, your go-to source for collegiate summer baseball. See you next time.